The times we go through are usually tough, but when you see a man crying, he is usually at his worst. Sometimes it gets beyond us and we fail to get solutions totally. Seeing the people we love going through terrible moments, it always hits different. He is called John, a man that is watching his son suffering from one day to another, but he cannot do anything about it. This is what hurts him more than anything ever does. Talking about this keeps tears rolling out of his eyes every minute. He tried taking his son to the hospitals so that he could get treatment. They were transferred to much more expensive hospitals that he could not afford since the local ones had failed. Spinal deformity is an abnormal alignment or curve of the bony vertical column. According to doctors, spinal deformity surgery is possible and the patient can be treated. Since the old man couldn't afford, he brought his son home and he has to watch him going through terrible pain. Today, we visited this family so that their story can be told to the world with hope that they will get help and save the life of this young boy that is going through unspeakable pain that ruined his life to this extent. This is the young man that is suffering. He is called Olivier and he is 19 years old. He says that this is not how he was born and it just came up much later when he was much older and he was going to school. In 2002, Olivier was born as a normal child and he had no problem at all. John and his wife were extremely happy to have a son and they therefore took him home and took care of him just like a family should. Olivier was growing up slowly by slowly and he started going to school. At this point, they were sure that their son was physically and mentally healthy and his parents had a lot of hope for him to turn up into a better and intelligent man in future. He was a brilliant child in class and they think that this might have been one of the reasons why he is like this today. Some of the villagers think that he might have been bewitched by one of the students who were jealous about his class performance, but his father does not at all think so. He was 7 years old when this boy started feeling pain and told his father that his legs were hurting a lot. They thought that this was because he always used to play soccer and they did not give it a lot of time. They never thought that it would be something so serious in the first place. Olivier says that though they weren't seeing anything physically, the pain he was going through was too much. Sometimes he could hardly sleep at night. Surprisingly, it was not the spine that was hurting him at all, but it was his legs. Later, the pain got so serious, but it was nothing visible yet. He decided to take his son to the hospital for checkup and the doctors carried out a scan on his legs, but they never managed to find out anything at all. They just gave him a few painkillers and told him that everything was going to be alright. He went back home, but the situation kept on getting worse as days went by, and it wasn't so long when he started walking like his legs were deformed. They realized that it was now serious and took him to the hospital for another checkup. The doctors tried all they could to find out what was wrong with him, but since it was a minor hospital in the village, they transferred Olivier to a much better hospital in the city, and now it turned into something that got this family worried.
bezanga baba ndevu yasiashika siashika injirayo.
Walking had become a problem to him, and this means that he couldn't go to school anymore. He dropped out of school because walking to and from school each and every day was now impossible. According to Olivier, this was when his life got completely ruined. Going to the city hospital that they had been transferred to was also something that was very expensive. John had to save some money that they were going to need for transportation and paying the hospital bills because hospitals in the city were very expensive. It's unbelievable, but he had to save money for a year. This young man was seated home in a lot of pain while waiting for his parents to get the money that was required, and after saving and getting loans from friends and family, they finally got the money. Olivier and his father thought that this was it. It was the end of his suffering because they had been told that the hospitals in the city would treat and reform his body, and this is what they all believed that was going to happen. Early the following morning, they got on the bus and headed to the city. They got to the hospital and they were attended to by the doctors. They carried out checkups on him and also transferred him to another better hospital, but it was still in the same city. The next day, John took his son to the other hospital. They still transferred him to another hospital too, and now the money that John had saved for one entire year was getting used up, and his son hadn't yet been treated. They kept on being transferred from one hospital to another. Sometimes they got back to the hospitals that they had been before in the first place. He did not know what to do anymore until they were transferred to the last hospital. The doctors also examined Olivier when they got there, but it was still the same case and nothing was still found. The doctors were honest and they told John that in this country there was absolutely nothing that they could do about Olivier. They said that all that was going to be done was to keep transferring him from one hospital to another. What Olivier needed was treatment abroad because in this country they had totally failed. This was a heartbreaking moment to them. John's family and friends could never afford to get this kind of money that was going to take Olivier abroad. So he brought him back home, and at this point there was nothing more that he could ever do. Every time his father thinks about this, he ends up crying. They really need help before they lose their only son because what they're going through is unbearable. John is now requesting everyone that is watching to please save his son's life. Help him to get advanced treatment abroad because it's now very expensive and they totally lost hope, and this is the only chance they have to save him.
kuvurwa kwanjye ari ukujya mu Buhinde akaba ari bakurikirana.
The funds that will be used to take Olivier abroad for treatment will be donated via GoFundMe. A link that is in the description of this video and pinned in the topmost comment by Afrimax English. Thank you for watching. My name is Prince. This is Afrimax English. Do not forget to subscribe.